I hit record tonight because I got thinking about something. I read the news too much, partly because I don't know, maybe I'm indoctrinated because we did current events as kids, or maybe it's just because genuinely I want to know what's going on. I mean, we have the ability to know what's going on in the whole world, and I think the brain just naturally wants to absorb all that information. So it's unhealthy. I know, in a lot of regards, but I try to keep it in check. But anyway, so I've been following, what happened to Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX. I've been following that closer than the other scandal with the CEO of Theranos, that woman. But anyway, I'm not a big crypto guy. I know I'm definitely not a finance bro. Not a I will give you no advice of that whatsoever. This has nothing to do with selling crypto. I just wanted to make an observation, or share an observation that I made, uh, something that happened in elementary school that just made me think like, God, there's just liars and cheaters everywhere. And the thing is that they always seem to filter themselves to uh, the upper echelons of leadership in our country, or in the story I'm going to tell in a classroom. Um, so yeah, it just dawned on me, this memory came to me, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to share this because if you don't know what's going on, right? Sam Bankman-Fried duped all these celebrities, uh, you know, built this crypto empire. What arena did they own? Something in Miami. I don't follow sports either. I don't care for football or basketball. I couldn't even tell you what arena he owned, but I think it was Miami. All right. You know, has all these endorsements with, like, I guess Tom Brady and Shaq, but I mean, I know what Bitcoin is, right? I'm not dumb. I own some Dogecoin thanks to a buddy I used to work with, Benny. Thanks for that tip, dude. I made I'm like $1,000 to the green because I bought Dogecoin a couple of years ago. I wish I bought a lot more, but anyway. So yeah, FTX. This turns out to be, a big Ponzi scheme. Regardless of what it is, I won't ever be able to wrap my head around it. But uh, the bottom fell out, right? And come to find out, this guy's got none of the structure behind his business that everyone would assume that he would have for a business this large, right? And they've generated, all these assets, and they have all this money that uh, it doesn't exist. Okay, it's and people are out, right? So that sucks for them. Like, I think a lot of people think they're pushing the envelope with crypto, and I mean, I don't know. I fall in the camp where, yeah, I think the government's just going to grab a hold of it, and we're going to have the U.S. you know crypto dollar, or whatever they're calling it, and that's going to be that. They're going to control that. It's if it has to do with money, the government's going to control it. So anyway, I was thinking about this experience I had in elementary school, and maybe you all have had something similar, but the teacher used to award us points. I think it was in fifth grade, and it was just like good behavior, right? So like if you did something, you were the first one to turn your assignment in, or you picked up after yourself after whatever reading time, you get five or 10 points. It's usually only a handful. And we tally them on the corner of the desk. And after, I can't remember how long, after a certain amount of time, we'd have an auction. She'd bring a bunch of things, and you could even bring something you could auction in exchange for points. And so I don't know if the teacher ever kept track of how many points were in circulation, right? The kids certainly didn't. But the first auction, yeah, I always felt pretty average. Like I got some points, but it wasn't really enough to get anything, and so I didn't get anything that first auction. Um, Immediately, there's kids that have more points than the others, and that trend kind of starts to stay the same. I think these were once a month, these auctions, but I remember half a dozen of them. And so the next time, uh, by the next auction, there's a pretty big gap. The kids who have the most points have a lot of points, and and, I mean, I'm in elementary school. I was like, well, how did they get so many points? I'm not going to win anything at this auction, right? And by the next auction, um, it, the gap was huge. I remember it was this one girl in particular and another guy, and they happened to sit next to each other. Okay, so the teacher never said anything, but these kids had hundreds of points, and meanwhile, most of the rest of us only have like a couple dozen, 2 or 3 dozen, and so of course they win they win everything. And so by the next auction, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how they got those points, but certainly no one's checking them in my mind, and so I call it the next wave. But me and I noticed, a bunch of other kids in the class, we started padding our points. I knew if I added 10 or 20, that it wouldn't make a difference, and yeah, it was going to pale in comparison to the extra few hundred that this girl and this guy had. And they, I don't know why, and maybe it's coincidence, but both of these kids came from good families, and seem to be popular, and whatever. It's always the popular kids, right? They're hassling the ones who aren't so much. Um, but anyway, I guess that's neither here nor there. But maybe take note, okay? So these auctions go on, and looking back, I think by the end of the year, the whole class was, falsifying our tally marks so that we could compete, um, with the liars and the cheaters, basically. And that just really struck me. It struck me that we're capable. Uh, First of all, there's some of us. The lesson to learn is that there's going to be those among us that are capable of that, and will show no empathy to the rest. And so you have to learn how to, to deal with that. How to navigate these kind of people. Um, it also taught me that the teacher didn't step in. There was no oversight, and in this case, the government didn't step in, and in this case, it might be worse. The government maybe had something to do with it, because we know that they took donation money, that I don't know how anxious are they to return it to, wronged investors. So, the comparisons, the things our children deal with are eventually the things that we're dealing with now, and that kid, Sam Bankman Fried, is like about my age. He's a little younger than me, and yeah, he would have been one of those kids. He was probably, and also getting pats on the back, like, oh, this kid's so smart, probably. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, look at him. He's gaming the system, which I guess, hand it to him. If the system has holes, why why not bend the rules? And there's definitely instances in my life where I've said, okay, I'm going to bend the rules, because if I don't, what chance do I have? And I would expect any I would expect any reasonable person to do that. But as we've learned in this climate today, everyone is on some kind of a spectrum, right? And the morality spectrum is wider than anyone's ever comprehended. At least I could have comprehended. To me, let me rephrase that. It's wider than I ever comprehended. So, and I always thought I felt kind of, I don't know, on the moral side. So, but in someone else's eyes, I don't think I am at all. But the immoral thing about this whole video is probably this streak of light coming down here in the really garbage grainy camera footage in the year 2022. But yeah, here nor there. Anyway, those are my thoughts. If you have something to add, throw it out there. Yeah, thought this would be fun. Again, that was some philosophy with Fillmore Beaver, and my main gig my responsible, day job. I'm a land surveyor, uh, and at night at night I'm a dad uh, and a husband, but I'm also a musician at heart. So if you want to check something out that's a little bit different and completely unique to Utah, check out my music, Spotify and iTunes. Um, just Google it, Fillmore Beaver. Phil like your fat uncle, Fillmore Beaver. All right.